Good day. If you're in the market for a high-quality RC Lipo battery charger that's going to quickly and safely charge all of your RC batteries and last you a good long time, this dual-channel AC/DC 700-watt ToolkitRC M6DAC may be just the one you're looking for. To help you make an informed decision, of course, today I'll go over its features and point out a few of my favorites. We'll also take a look at how to upgrade its firmware and do some quick battery charging demonstrations using its single-channel, dual-channel, asynchronous, and synchronous charging modes. I'll also demo how to safely charge more than 2 batteries with it at the same time and offer you a few other Lipo battery charging safety tips. Let's see just how easy battery charging can be with this M6DAC smart charger from ToolkitRC. If this sounds good to you, make sure to hit that thumbs up button below and subscribe to your TMacFPV channel, your home for your journey to better FPV fun, flights, and racing stuff. Listen. Do you hear that? Neither do I. That's one of the things I love about this battery charger. It's got an internal temperature sensor which only kicks on the cooling fan when it's needed. And from my experience, 95% of the time, this is what you hear. You can see the internal temperature of the battery charger up here and whether or not the fan is operating, besides the fact that you can actually hear it when it does operate. This little icon up here starts spinning. Unlike other chargers that are out there, which have their cooling fan on all the time whenever you're charging. Another thing I really like about this charger is a 3.5-inch color display, which is easily viewable from any angle, and even clearly visible outside when you're doing field charging on a sunny day. Let's take a look at some more of the features. Alright, as I've already mentioned, it's a dual channel smart charger, which means you can charge 2 different batteries at the same time using these ports with the XT60 connectors and these balance ports. Now if you fly micro quads like I do and you're using Lipos with XT30 connectors, you're going to need an XT60 to XT30 adapter similar to this one, or these, which you can get a 4-pack on Amazon for about 12 bucks. Whether you get the ones without the wires or the ones with the wires, I've got links to both down in the video description below. The way these work is you just plug these in, plug your Lipo into the XT30 connector, and then insert the balance connector into the balance port. Now when you're charging 2 different batteries simultaneously, that's called in the asynchronous mode, and each one of these channels can output a maximum of 350 watts at 15 amps, I believe. You can also operate this in a synchronous mode, which means you combine both of these channels into one. And to do that, you need one of these Y connectors, where you plug the leads into the XT60 connectors. And then you've got this end, which you can then use one of your XT60 to XT30 adapters. I'll use one of these ones with wires. Plug this in. Then plug your Lipo in here. And your balance lead goes over here in channel 2. I'll demonstrate both the asynchronous and the synchronous charging capabilities of the M6DAC here shortly. In the synchronous mode, you get a total of maximum power output for charging of 700 watts. In the package, you get your quick start manual. You also get your AC power adapter and a USB-C cable. And the reason you get the AC power adapter and USB-C cable is this particular charger can have AC power input or DC power input, as you see I've got here with my 4S 1500 milliamp hour Lipo. The AC power input can be from 100 to 240 volts, and the DC power input can be from 7 to 28 volts. Right above the DC power input here, you see the USB-C port, which is used for firmware updates, and I'll show that to you here in just a minute, as well as it's a fast charger for things such as your smartphone, tablets, laptops, up to 65-watt power charging from this, which is really nice. I already mentioned the fan, which only kicks on once in a blue moon. This whole time I've been talking, the internal temp's at 27.2. Oh, speaking of temperature sensors, you've also got an external temperature sensor port here that you can monitor the external temp for use with the battery charger, and you can set that inside the battery charger so that if the temperature outside reaches that set temperature, the battery charger will stop the main port charging. All right, those are the external ports that you can connect your various devices to and power inputs. Let's go ahead and take a look at the menu system of the ToolkitRC M6DAC and how to navigate through a few of the screens. All right, when you first power up the charger, this is the screen that comes up. You'll notice you've got two buttons here, actually one button and a scroll wheel. These are the only two things you need to navigate through the menus on your ToolkitRC M6DAC smart charger. This screen pops up when you first power it on. You'll see channel 1 is highlighted in this yellow outline. To move to channel 2, you just press the channel button once. And now channel 2 is highlighted in this blue outline. To go back to channel 1, press the channel button. From this main menu, to select the type of battery that you'll be charging, such as a 4S 1100 milliamp hour Lipo, you just short press your scroll wheel once. Here's where you set up your battery type. Oh, by the way, one of my favorite things about this charger is this metal scroll wheel. Why is that? Because it actually works. If you scroll to the right, it goes down 1, not 3, not 2, 1. And if you scroll left, it goes up 1. Seems like a simple thing, but there's many chargers out there where this scroll wheel can be finicky, and if you just touch it to scroll down, it actually scrolls up 2 or 3. I don't know what's up with that, but this one works, and I'm happy about it. So this is one of my favorite things in this charger, besides the fact that it's really quiet, and the big screen is a scroll wheel that actually works. A little side note, sorry about that. Select the battery type. You've got your normal LiPo, you've got your high voltage LiPo, and you've got 5 other types of batteries. Lithium ion, nickel metal hydride, lead, etc. Even got what they've called UAV bat, and you can select the type of drone for your UAV bat. Once again, to get out of the menu, you press your channel button, which also acts as your exit button, and that goes back 1. You can also select your number of cells, change it from auto to, let's say, 4S as an example, and your mode. Normally you have it on charge, but you can also discharge and do storage charge for your batteries. I've used both of these options and they work properly. And you'll also want to set your charge current, because you'll be wanting to charge your battery somewhere between 1C and 2C, which is your charge rate. So for an 1100 milliamp hour LiPo, a 1C charge rate would be 1100, which is 1.1 amps. So I would go down here to change this to 1.1. Then exit out of here, and you hook up the battery and start charging. I'll demonstrate that here in just a second. Now, if you need to change any of your settings for the charger, instead of short pressing the scroll wheel once, you press and hold the scroll wheel, and it brings you to the setup menu. I'm not going to go through all of these different setup menu options, because ToolkitRC's got a comprehensive 36-page user manual at the site toolkitrc.com/M6DAC, which I highly recommend you go to and download and read through it and save it for future reference. Also, at toolkitrc.com is where you will find their support page at the bottom of the site. Click on support, and if you have any issues with your charger, just open up a support ticket. I've actually given that a shot, and the response was outstanding. ToolkitRC actually responded to me within 24 hours. So based on my experience, I found their support to be outstanding. Under input settings, I mentioned I'm not going to go through all of this, just some of the ones that you might need in the short term. You've got your input settings, security settings, which talks about the internal and external temperature settings. as well as your safety time and capacities. Here's where you go from synchronous mode off, which would be asynchronous, to synchronous mode on, which is using both channels combined. I'll show you that here in just a minute. For now, we'll leave it off. Let's see what else I want to go through here. Battery selection. Backlight, you can change the brightness of your screen. We'll leave it at 10 for now. Buzzer, you can actually change the tone that you hear from the charger. I'll leave it at 4. And it comes in different languages. Theme style, this is nice. You can go from the light theme style, which we're showing here, to dark mode. And those are your setup options. Once again, I'll refer you to the user manual for more information on each one of these. If you want to learn more, I highly encourage you to take a look at the user manual. All right, let's do some quick charging demonstrations. All right, let me show you how easy it is to charge up a Lipo from scratch. We just plug in the charger. It powers up. The fan only goes on when the internal temperature sensor indicates the charger needs to be cooled. In my experience, 95% of the time, charger doesn't even get warm enough for the fan to go on, and it's extremely quiet. The noise you hear in the background, if you do hear it, is my 3D printer printing out some frames. It's been humming along for the past few days non-stop. All right, so now we got the charger on. We're going to connect the Lipo to the ToolkitRC M6 Dual AC Smart Charger. And since I'm using micro quad batteries that have XT30 connectors, and these are XT60 connectors here, I need to use an adapter from an XT60 that gets plugged into the charger to an XT30 that the Lipo plugs into. You can either make these if you're comfortable doing that yourself, or you can grab some on Amazon or your local hobby shop. I've got links to them down in the video description below. So we just turn that on, plug that in, plug in the Lipo. The balance connector gets plugged in here, and it's got a negative indicator over here on the left, so we want to make sure that our negative goes in like this. Then we just press the scroll wheel, select our battery type. This is actually an HV Lipo, so I'm going to change Lipo to LIHV here, which it automatically changes the voltage per cell to 4.35 then. Since this is a 650 milliamp hour Lipo, you normally want to charge your Lipo batteries at 1C or 2C, which is 1 times the capacity or 2 times the capacity. So in this case it would be 650, or 650 times 2 is 1300. I'm just going to go with 600 milliamps. So I'm going to change 1 amp to 600 for demonstration purposes. Right there. Click on that. Go down here and press start. Okay. That's it. Now we just sit back and wait. You can see how each of the various cells 1, 2, 3, and 4 are charging and balancing individually. When each one of these little numbers indicating the cell number lights up, that means that particular cell is actively being charged. You can see we're charging at 0.6 amps or the 600 milliamps, which I chose earlier. And we get a status bar showing the completion rate of our charging, as well as the amount of elapsed time, and what our current total battery voltage is up here. So this battery, being a high voltage Lipo, should end up with a charge right around 17.4 volts. Now, while this 650 milliamp hour Lipo is being charged on channel 1, I thought I'd demonstrate the dual charge capability of this ToolkitRC M6 Dual AC charger by charging a 2-cell lithium ion battery on channel 2. So I've got this connector connected up to the lithium ion battery. This is my Radiomaster TX16 battery, which I use. I'm going to connect the XT60 here. I'm going to connect the balance lead with the negative over on that side here. Now I'm going to press this channel button once, and the highlighted area will come over to channel 2. Highlighted in blue now. I'm going to press once on the scroll wheel, and go through the same process I just did for channel 1. Except this is not a high voltage LiPo. This is a lithium ion battery right there. So we select that. We can leave the cells at auto, or we can change it if we'd like. It's a 2S. And this is a large capacity lithium ion. We're going to charge this up at, let's go with let's just go with 1 amp. Come down here to start, just like we did previously. And let's go. So now we've got a high voltage 4S 650 milliamp hour LiPo charging on channel 1 and a 2S lithium ion battery charging on channel 2 at 2 different charge rates. Nice! Alright, let's see how easy it is to upgrade the firmware on the M6DAC. We go to page 34 of the user manual, firmware upgrade. Says after connecting the M6DAC to the computer with a USB cable, the computer will recognize the disk drive named Toolkit, and we're going to download the upgrade file from the website and copy and paste it into a file folder that the computer recognizes once we've connected it to the computer. So we're going to go to the website ToolkitRC.com, M6DAC, downloads, and here we see the firmware upgrade file that we need to download. So we'll click on zip. Once it's downloaded over here, save it to a folder you've created on your computer, unzip it, and here you've got an upgrade instructions PDF file. But what we really want is this file right here. We just copy and paste this, copy, and paste it to the Toolkit drive, which appears on your computer after you plug the battery charger into your computer using the provided USB-C cable. And once it's done copying, we just exit out of here, and our firmware has been upgraded. Alright, now that we've got the new firmware on our M6DAC, let me go ahead and demonstrate how you can synchronous charge LiPos using the combined power of both channels up to the max power of 700 watts and 25 amps. To do that, we're going to press and hold the bottom of our scroll wheel and go down here to synchronous mode and turn it on. Scroll down. Press it once, scroll, press it again, and use the channel exit button. Now we're in synchronous mode. Now, in accordance with the user manual, I believe it's on page 25 or somewhere around there, we ought to be able to use synchronous mode by connecting one of these Y cables up to the charger. These are fairly inexpensive. You can grab them from Amazon or some local hobby shops. I've probably got some links to them down in the description below. These are XT60s. To XT60, you can also probably get them to the XT30 or make it yourself if you're comfortable doing that. Just be safe. So we're going to connect one XT60 connector here to channel 1 and one over here to channel 2. Then, since this is an XT60 connector on this end and I fly micros, so the LiPos I use for my micro quads normally have the XT30 connector. Because of that, I'm going to use this adapter which I made, which is just an XT60 to an XT30 adapter. So I'm going to plug this XT60 connector in to this end, plug my LiPo into this end. This LiPo battery's got a voltage right now of about 15 volts. Plug this in here. Now we're going to take our balance connector and plug it into channel 2 with the negative over here on the left, which you may be able to see as designated by the negative sign over here on the left-hand side of this balance port. So we're going to plug in negative to negative, just like that, and now we should be good to go. As I mentioned, the voltage on this LiPo is about 15 volts, and the charger's got it at 15.05. So to start the synchronous charging, press that, and it automatically brings up the battery selections, the most recent ones that I've used, because I've got that battery selection set to on here. It automatically saves my most recent battery selection settings. The default is off. So I'm going to go ahead and select high voltage LiPo. Since this particular battery is an HV LiPo, select that. That automatically brings up the end voltage of 4.35 volts per cell. High voltage LiPo. I'm going to charge it at 0.6 amps only because it's a 650 amp LiPo. So all we have to do is press start. And here we see that we're using both channels, and we're going to press OK. My LiPo balance lead came disconnected, so we've got an error. So I'm going to press Okay, reconnect that and go through the process again. Now let's press start, and here we get the proper voltage that we should have gotten to begin with. I should have noticed that when it first came up to 13 point something. But once again, we're using both channels, so we're going to press OK. And now we're using the synchronous charge capability of the ToolkitRC M6DAC powerful Lipo battery charger. Good stuff. So what happens if you got more than two batteries that you want to charge at the same time? No worries, because this ToolkitRC M6 Dual AC Smart Charger's got you covered there too. As long as the batteries are of the same cell count, in this case all four of these are 4 cells, and their startup voltages are about the same, preferably within about 1/10 of a volt per cell of each other. Or for a 4S Lipo, that would be within 0.4 volts of each of the batteries. You can parallel charge them using this charger and a parallel charging plate or board like this one, which I'll link to in the video description below. This one has a 40 amp fuse for safety purposes. I'd recommend you get one with a fuse or fuses. And then since I'm using these micro FPV batteries with the XT30 connectors on them, I'm going to plug these adapters, XT60 to XT30 adapters, into the charging plate like this. We're going to need 4 of them. It really doesn't matter where you put these. And then you can use this parallel board either in the asynchronous mode with one channel on this M6 Dual AC Smart Charger, or in the synchronous mode using both channels. For no particular reason, I'm just going to demonstrate it using the synchronous mode and both channels, which means we're going to need the Y connector. We're going to need to put this in the synchronous mode. Press down and hold on the scroll wheel. And then where synchronous mode is off, we scroll down there, and we're going to turn that on. Exit out. Now we're going to plug in our parallel charging board after I screw the plate back on. Tell you what, we're going to plug the batteries in first. And the way we do that is we just plug the XT30s in here, and we insert the balance connector into the receptacle for a 4-cell Lipo. And on this board, they're labeled. And you want these ridges facing where the open slots are in the connector. So we're going to plug it into this 4-cell connector here with those ridges facing the open slots like that. We'll do that for each one of these. Now these slots are facing that way, so we're going to go this way. Tell you what, before we do this, what you want to do, and I know what the voltages are in these batteries, I just haven't shown you yet. So we're going to check the voltages to make sure they're obviously the same cell count. We're going to make sure that there's all the starting voltages are approximately the same within 4/10 of each other. That one's 16.1. This one is 16.0. This one is 16.1. And this last one is 16.0. So the difference between the starting voltages of all 4 of these batteries is only 0.1 volts, which is obviously less than 0.4 volts or 1/10 of a volt per cell on the batteries. In addition, they're all of the same cell count. So we're good to go to be able to charge them all using the parallel charging board. Plug them back in. Now that all of these are plugged into the charging board, we need to plug the charging board into our ToolkitRC M6 Dual AC Smart Charger. So we're going to turn this around. We're going to connect the XT60 together like this. Now these are all 650 milliamp hour Lipos, and when you parallel charge them, the charger is acting as if these are one bigger battery. And you add the capacities of each of the batteries. So 650 plus 650 plus 650 plus 650, that comes out to 2600 or 2.6 amps for a 1C charge rate, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to use 2.6 amps to charge all 4 of these batteries. I'm going to plug the balance connector per our user manual for the ToolkitRC M6 Dual AC charger here into channel 2, Don't worry about the colors of these wires. Remember, the negative goes over here. All right, now we've got all 4 of our Lipo batteries plugged into our parallel charging board. They're all of the same cell count, and they're all within 0.4 volts of each other for a 4-cell battery, or 0.1 volts per cell. We've got the parallel charging board plugged in to our ToolkitRC M6DAC smart charger. Balance connectors on channel 2, and our M6 smart charger is on synchronous mode. There's a couple other things I wanted to show you before we fire this puppy up. What might be a good idea is when you're charging, especially parallel charging, is to grab one of these Lipo safe bags. These are fairly inexpensive. You can get expensive ones also, but you can grab this one or a similar one to this off of Amazon, and I've got links to Lipo safe bags down in the video description below. Additionally, I always have a First Alert Class ABC fire extinguisher on hand whenever I'm charging my Lipos. This is also right around 25 bucks, perhaps even less, and I've got a link to it in the video description down below as well. It's probably well worth your investment and actually could save your house from burning down. So I'm going to put this stuff in this Lipo safe bag. This bag's got a zipper. It's actually got 2 zippers. We're going to close the zippers up around there. It's also got Velcro. So now our 4 batteries and the parallel charging board are contained within this Lipo safe bag with our fire extinguisher on standby behind me on the shelf. I want to make a point here that charging Lipo batteries is not something to be afraid of. However, it is something to be respected. So you want to take some time, if you've never done this before or are somewhat unfamiliar with charging Lipos, to read up on it, understand it, and just respect the fact that they can be dangerous. And if you take the appropriate precautionary measures, you should be good to go. So let's go ahead and charge these things up, and we'll set it at 2.6. These are high voltage Lipos. Number of cells is 4, but I'll leave it on auto. Our mode is not going to be storage. Our mode is going to be charge, 4.3 volts per cell, and our charge current is going to be 2.6, right there. We're going to click start. We're using synchronous mode, and we're going to hit OK. Check it out. We're charging. So this is how you can safely charge more than 2 batteries at the same time using your ToolkitRC M6DAC charger. Well, I think I've just about covered everything I wanted to help you make an informed decision as to whether or not this ToolkitRC M6DAC high-quality RC battery charger is the right one for you. I know it is for me. If you found this video useful, remember to hit that thumbs up button below and subscribe to your TMacFPV channel. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next video. Clear skies, friend.